here with Half Dozen Customs. Good afternoon to everybody. We're back out here on the Jeep today. I've been working, I don't know, the last hour or so on the Jeep. I didn't record it because I was working inside the glove box, which is like that big. So it's kind of hard for me to video when I got both my hands in there and my face in there with the flashlight. So I didn't really video it. Well, I didn't video it. But I'm gonna kind of show you guys what we got going on. So I always say so. We were working on the wipers. My buddy who owns a truck said let's just shave them, let's get rid of them. So I pulled everything out. This is what was made of the glove box. This was the base or the floor of the glove box. This was mounted up underneath here, like so. These were like the sidewalls of it, and you could see they had it caulked. And not only did they have it caulked, but they had it, it was duct taped as well. So that went on that side like that, and then this went on this side like this. And then they had a piece that was duct taped in along the back. Really not the prettiest. So we took everything out. It's nice and clean in there and a fresh start. So this down here, this stuff down here is where the heater box mounts to. I also removed all the vent tubing that was in there for the defroster. They weren't even hooked up to anything. This box, this heater box, it just blows forward. There is no attachments for defrost or anything like that. So those vent tubes weren't hooked up to anything. They were just in there. So I removed them. And you know, if he decides one day that he's gonna go with a different heater that actually has defrost, you know, then he can. The defrost setup is still in there. He would just have to run new tubes like those right there, that thing, which aren't even the right tubes for it. They had it all duct taped together, and yeah, it was just not the best setup. So what I'm working on now, you can see that I made that template out of the paper. That template is of this opening. So I think I'm going to we're gonna cut a piece of sheet metal, and I'm gonna bend it around, you know, get all the same curves and bend it around that template that I made. And then we'll make a back for it, and we'll just tack it in a couple of spots, and it can get seam sealed on the inside. And we're gonna make them a new glove box. Now it wasn't in our plans to do that, but I had to take it all apart to get the windshield wiper motor out. So I'm not gonna put that garbage back in there. We'll just make a new piece. You know, we'll make a new glove box, and we'll try and just keep it simple, since this wasn't something that we had planned on doing. So yeah, let's take some measurements and cut some sheet metal and see if we can get, you know, a box bent around, and then like I said, we'll make a cover for the back, and we'll tack it in you know, a half dozen spots. And yeah, we'll call it a day at that. So we'll drill some holes. There's you know, there's like this hole here, there's another hole on this side, there's 2 holes on the top, and then there's 2 holes on the bottom. You know, I don't know if we'll go that crazy and do all of them, but you know, we can at least get it, you know, bolted in, even if it's just 2 bolts holding it in. You know, as long as it's not in there like super loosely to where it's gonna rattle everywhere. You know, we'll see what happens. So let's start with getting the box bent, and we'll go from there. You know, there's a couple other things that I removed. Like there was some nut and bolt type setups in there that were blocking those holes, so we're gonna weld up all those holes. I also need to go out to the other Jeep and pull the door off the other Jeep. So we have another passenger side door like this, and I'm gonna see if I can make it work on that side. I don't see why it wouldn't. So that we have one for over there as well. You know, we may end up making a box for that side too, so that there's a glove box on each side. That's normally how they were. This over here, they had an old gauge in here that didn't work, and then over there I believe they had a piece of sheet metal screwed in over there that had the gauges in that over there. So but we're gonna try and put it back to as much of factory as possible. I think we're gonna weld up all the holes that don't belong there. I don't know about these holes. We may put some switches in those holes. We're gonna have this switch for the vent. We're probably gonna have a switch for the pedal, because the pedal is electric. You can move it in and out. And then there'll probably be a switch in there to turn the heat on and off. And then that'll be it for switches. We're gonna put the gauges back in the center. We are looking at different gauge options. I don't know if I'm just gonna make a backing plate that mounts from the inside that has, you know, a couple of gauges in it, or are we gonna get something cool and custom and actually, you know, we'll probably weld that square closed or that rectangle closed. And then we're looking at one of the oval ones that has has speedometer and tack on the sides, and then like in the middle it has like temperature and oil pressure. So, and it's a nice billet piece that goes in there. We're looking at those. So don't know exactly what we're gonna do with the gauges yet, but I think I'm gonna, you know, start working on this dashboard and start getting it kind of situated and ready to go. We also got to figure out the electronic thing for that flip up vent. We have everything to do it. I just got to figure out how we're gonna make it work. So, but like I said, let's cut some metal. Enough talking. So, like I said, I made this template. This template is of the door opening. I held this up there and I traced it from the inside. So this is of the door opening. And so we needed to maybe be a little bit bigger than this. because it's got, you know, it's got a lip on the dashboard that is going to slip over that lip so we can bolt it in or screw it in or whatnot. Let me get, I'm going to get a horse set up with sheet metal over here so we can do some cutting. I'll be right back. Alright, I did some calculating, and I think that we are at, this is 30 and a half. And that is, so pretty much what I did was I measured from here to here times 2 and here to here times 2, and that's where I got the 30 and a half. And we should have plenty left over with these rounded corners, so we'll be able to trim off whatever we need. I think I'm going to put the seam at the top where you don't see it, and we'll overlap it a little bit and maybe put a couple of spot welds or some tacks. So yeah, so instead of trying to butt it up with each other and welding it or whatnot, we'll just do an overlap with a couple of spot welds and should be good to go. So let's get this cut out and we'll go from there. I got this. I'm gonna find something to, I think these smaller corners, we can maybe bend over this. But this top corner, I'm gonna have to find something. I'm thinking maybe a piece of exhaust pipe. So let me go find hopefully a piece of exhaust pipe that's straight that we can bend around. Alright, so we got this piece. I'm gonna get out the chop box and we'll just cut it. I think it'd be a good piece to have around. I'm not going to be using this for anything else. So something that happened recently that I did a video. We were in the middle of cutting up a bunch of steel so that I could get rid of it. It was steel from our shed that we tore down. And I was using this, and I had just finished cutting a piece, and I went to go grab another piece, and all of a sudden this thing kicked on all by itself. Nothing that I could see was wrong with it. I took the entire thing apart, motor, everything, every little nut, bolt, everything. I had this thing completely apart. Couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. So I ended up having to rewire it so that it would shut off, and I haven't used it since. So let's see how this does. Worked like a charm. So if you guys notice, I have like unplugged written everywhere all over it. The day that it did it, I had used it earlier in the day, and I had left it plugged in and everything, and we ran out and did some errands and ate lunch and everything like that, and like had that thing done what it had did earlier in the day, it would have been plugged in and nobody would have been here, and it would have just been on and going. So make sure you unplug your stuff if you're not using it. cleaning up all the sharp edges so I don't cut myself now or later on down the road. Like so. I think that's okay. Let's go check and see if we're even close to fitting in the truck. I did want it a little bit bigger than the template because, like I said, it's got to overlap a bunch of metal on the inside of the dash. I don't see why not. You know, I think we're gonna have to cut some slits. I think we're gonna have to cut some slits down here somewhere, so that it needs to slip over this bottom edge. So what can we do here? I guess I need to get my marker and we need to find out where we need to cut those slits. We don't need to cut no slits. Yeah, no, I think we're good there. Just like so. I like it. I like it a lot. Got enough room to stick the little rubber doohickeys in there. Could have maybe been a little shorter on the bottom, but I think we'll be okay. Anything I do is better than what was there. Promise you that. Alright. So I think I'm going to get out the welder. Get out the welder and we'll put a couple of tacks in here. Holding it in place. And then I'll lay this piece on a piece of metal and we'll trace it out for the backing, and we'll put a backing on it and we'll be good to go. I do have to trim a little off here just to make it straight. Obviously my line that I made was not straight. there. Let's try and mark. Take that little bit off there. It's tucked up behind the dash, so you'll never see it anyways, but all right, let's lay this on this metal and we'll trace it out. Okay, got the glove box in. I just kept it simple. The top two mounts that were there from the factory, I marked them with the magic marker. We drilled a hole. I tacked a nut on the top of the box we just made. The bottom, because it sits on top, it's just because it sits on top, I would have had to weld the nut to the bottom of the dashboard, which you can't even get to it because of the lip that the door mounts onto. So that one I just had to hold the nut in there with my finger, and it's just a screw with a nut on the back side, but it's all mounted in. It's solid. I got the door back on. They had this thing, this was screwed up here. That's what that caught on. If you look at the other side, it actually has a tab that's part of the truck. It's like welded on there. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'll just recreate that tab and we'll just, I'll weld it up to the top of the dash here. Right here. We'll just, you can feel where the old one was. So, yeah. So these hinges need to be straightened out. This door is all bent. There's a bolt down here for this bracket that the door hits on. I don't know if you guys can see it in there, but it's bent up the door. It's bent the hinges, everything like that. So I gotta go back through. I gotta remove that bolt, and I think I'm just gonna. It's a bolt like this guy here. I think I'm just going to weld them along the bottom of the dash on both sides and then remove the nut. And then we'll straighten out the hinges on the door. And then I'll make that little locking tab. Gotta get the door open and shutting properly before I try and get it to close. Because if I make it close now and then we go back and we straighten everything out, you know, it might not close. So, but anyways, it's lunchtime for me. So, see you guys a little bit later. I'm out. Alright, we're back out here after lunch, so really wish I wouldn't say so much. I grinded up where our wipers were, got that cleaned up, cut a couple circles. I just held the metal up there, traced a circle around it, roughly cut it out with some nippers. Ran around it with some 36, cleaned up the edges, brought it to my black magic marker line, and voila, I have them magneted in there. Got welder set up, so let's get them welded in. I grinded on that way more than I wanted to, but there must have been like an impurity somewhere. I had like 3 or 4 pinholes in there, and I would weld it up, and I would hit it with the grinder, and the hole was in my brand new weld that I just put on there. So I would grind it down, I would weld up that hole again, that little pinhole. I'd grind it down, and the pinhole would, it's not even like the pinhole was still there, like my weld wasn't filling it, like the hole was in my brand new weld. So there must have been some kind of impurity in the metal there that it just kept adding it back into my weld. So, but I finally got it to go away. Just, I mean, it feels nice and flat, looks good. I switched, when I started having that issue, I switched over to 80 so that I wasn't, you know, taking too much material away, but still, what a pain in the butt. Get in there, maybe. Earlier I was saying it was hot in the shop. I was out here sweating. I had the shop closed up. Didn't have a fan on. The shop was closed up because when I came in here this morning, it felt cooler in the shop than it did outside. And we were, I don't know, 81, 82, something like that. Now it feels like it's actually cooler outside than it is in the shop, so I have the whole shop open, got the fans going and everything, and it's 85 in here, 80, 86. It's hotter in here than it was earlier, with everything open, and feeling cooler outside. Gotta love the summertime, man. Complain that it's too cold in the winter, complain that it's too hot in the summer. I think that's everybody, right? It's not just me. I got a buddy of mine that lives back in Illinois. He's got, it's a window unit, but it's one of those old ones from the 50s or 60s that are huge, like one unit cools your entire house, you know. I mean, it's the size of a regular AC unit. And it works awesome, and he's said next time he comes out this way, he's gonna bring it out to me. It'll be nice. We're gonna get it mounted in the wall, and we'll have AC out here, so you can't paint with AC on. Don't try it. I've done it before. It causes nothing but problems. But metalwork and stuff like that, good to go. This side welded up beautifully. I didn't have no problems tacking it in. You know, that side, you know, was a pain in the butt to get it just tacked in place. And then welding it, it gave me nothing but problems. This side, beautiful. Came out beautiful. Must be something over there. Maybe inside the metal or maybe up underneath the dashboard. Maybe there was something up underneath there. You know, when I held the metal up in there, I didn't have anything obstructing my way of holding the metal up there, so it's not like there was caulk or anything back there, but yeah, I don't know, that's weird because this side was nothing but problems. Weird. I don't know if you guys heard that car drive by and beep their horn. I don't know what it is. People drive by in front of my shop, beep their horn, all day long, every day. I don't know nobody out here. Like, I know my neighbors and that's it. And it's not like, you know, I'm on acres of land. It's not like they're beeping at my neighbor when they're in front of my house. You know, my neighbors are all the way down around the corner. So they ain't beeping for them. They're beeping in front of my house. I don't know if it's just because of all the cars I got going on out there and they're car people or what, but I just find it odd. My one neighbor that lives over on that side over there, he says the same thing. People always beep by at him when he's outside and stuff, and he don't know nobody. Okay, so we got that done. I'm happy those are done. My buddy will be happy they're done. We kind of left off earlier. After I got the glove box in, I put the glove box door back on, and I told you that it was kind of bent out of shape and whatnot, and it needed to be straightened out. And there was a nut and bolt that was down on the bottom that when you opened the door, it was hitting on the nut and bolt. And I was going to weld those couple of pieces to the bottom of the dash. I'm going to address that situation and see. There was these things that I pulled out of the dashboard. I don't even know where you get these. I've never even seen anything like this before. I don't know, maybe somebody machined them. Maybe they put them on the lathe and machined them down. Because it's got machine lines in it. You can see it's got machine lines in it. But I don't need it this long, of course. But if I trim it down some, maybe this would work down there instead of that bolt, and then I don't have to weld something to the dashboard that technically doesn't belong there. These two braces that are down there, that's the bolts are causing an issue for. It's braces that somebody put in there to mount the heater box in. So me personally, I'd rather not weld them in. I know I said I was going to weld them in, but I'd rather not because they're specific for that heater box. And I have a feeling like one day he'll have AC and heat, and you know, it'll actually have, even if it's just heat, like it'll have the defrost on the windows. You know, you don't have wipers now, you at least need to have defrost. So I don't think the heater that he has in there is going to stay in there. So I don't really want to lock those brackets in place because they may not be used here soon down the road. So I think I'm gonna see if maybe we can't make this work. We'll have to see. But I'm gonna pull that door back out and we'll address that situation and see what we can figure out, see what we can come up with. Okay, had to change out your guys' battery. You guys died. And I went and I shut up the shop because sun's going down and mosquitoes are going to start coming in here. So, but let's see what we can do about getting some of this straightened out. Okay, that looks better. Alright. Happy with that. Let's cut this little tab off of here. Alright. Just left that little square there. I don't think it's gonna hurt anything leaving it there. Just trying to straighten that metal out a little bit there. Looks like it might actually be cracked. I don't think it's cracked, just detonated. Looks better now. Alright. Let's go mount this guy back on and see how the door shuts. I think it'll shut better. Now this was a little bit of a struggle last time putting this on. Let's see how many times I dropped the screws. That's one. Definitely gonna be there's two. It's gonna be a two-man job when this thing gets painted, for sure. Let's see. All right. Hey, look at that. Where did that come from? That is the original locking tab for this guy. Awesome. Super awesome. Where did he come from? I found him down in the frame rail there. That's cool. I don't know, is that it? Is that as far as it's supposed to open? You know, it hits a little bit on that flat washer, or that flat bolt that we put in, but on this side it's actually hitting on the head of the screw. I think that's supposed to be it. That's just enough for you to put some stuff in there. So there is supposed to be some rubber stoppers in there. So I think that this thing, I can't really see. Grab my ear. So I think it, well, I can tell you right now, it mounts from inside. So I think we'll have to mess with this next time the glove box is out. I gotta take it out to paint it anyways. So we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out. I did pull down on this a little bit to get it to open a little bit farther than it was. You know, we did put a little bit of a dimple back down in here. What I may end up doing is I may just grind that away, just so that it clears when you go to open it. You know, we'll just grind a little bit off of this door the next time we have it off. But either way, I'm much happier with the way that this thing opens, closes, shuts. Before, like, it was closing like way off. So there are some rubber stoppers that go here. I'm gonna have to there was one left that was up here, and it was hanging on by a thread. I just pulled it off. I should be able to just go to the auto parts store and find a couple that'll go in there. We need them for the other side as well. And that way the door is not hitting metal, it's not scratching our paint, it's not vibrating, no nothing. So, but much happier with that. So today we got the whole wiper assembly disassembled, pulled out, welded up the wiper holes. We built a new glove box for it, and we straightened out the hinges and the door and made everything open and shut properly. I'm much happier with that. So I think I'm gonna call it a day there. It's almost 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. So, yeah. So we'll see you guys tomorrow for another fun-filled day. Tomorrow, I think we are going to mess around with making the vent open and close electronically. So we'll see you guys tomorrow for that. That should be fun, and hopefully we can make that work. That'll be cool. And if we get that done, you know, hopefully tomorrow morning, and then after lunch, I think we can throw the motor back in. That shifter was supposed to be here on the 14th. Today's the 18th, and it's still not here. So hopefully that'll show up soon. Can't do the floor until we have that shifter, or at least I don't want to do the floor until we have that shifter. But we can get the motor put back in maybe tomorrow afternoon. And then I will try it. My buddy has the whole wiring harness for it. I'm gonna, once the motor's in, I will shoot him a message and have him bring me over that wiring harness, so we can do whatever we need to do to get all that situated. Not only do we have to drill, you know, I think we only got to drill one hole, like yay big, in the firewall somewhere. Hopefully we can try and maybe tuck it down behind the motor so that you don't see it. I don't know. It's a universal wiring harness. It was not built for this truck. It's just built for the motor. So it's universal. I don't know how much extra we're gonna have. I mean, we could have, you know, 3 feet of extra wiring with this harness. Hopefully that's not the case. But if it's long enough, we're gonna get it tucked down and poke a hole in the firewall somewhere where hopefully it's hidden. And then we gotta, like, there's a body control module and a fuse box. And I think there's something with the throttle that has to be mount. I don't know. I know that there's computers and boxes and all this stuff that we got to mount in here. So, you know, probably what we're gonna end up having to do is maybe make like a plate out of aluminum, maybe out of some of the aluminum that we pulled out of this truck. And we may have to get that mounted to the firewall. We may have to drill some holes, nut and bolt it through the firewall, and then weld up the nuts so that, you know, the firewall stays smooth. You know, we'll shave them, weld them, get them in there so that you don't see it. And then everything will mount to that aluminum plate, and then you can unbolt the plate and pull it all off in one shot. Something like that. You know, it's kind of how we've done it in the past on other vehicles. I see a lot of other people, like on YouTube, doing the same thing. So, you know, depending on where everything lays, we gotta get that figured out as well. So, I don't want no like nuts and bolts going through the firewall, holding this computer to the inside of the firewall or anything like that. Like, firewall's got to stay shaved and smooth, and so whatever it is, we got to figure out on the inside and weld it up and keep her nice and clean. So, and I figure that'll be easier to do when the floor's out. So yeah, it's tomorrow's plan and probably the next day's. So, and then once we get that figured out, I can take the whole brake assembly and gas assembly back out. We need to weld that all up solid, put some nuts and bolts in there and get those welded up, instead of the tack screws that I have in there, or tech screws, whatever you want to call them. Anyways, I will see you guys later. I'm rambling on. You have a good night. I'm going to have a good night. See you guys tomorrow.